There are things I need of you, things you may not understand and may not wish to do. But please, do not make the same mistakes I did. My father, Howard, deserted me before I was born. I could claim the loss of my mother, and the letter I received after a funeral blinded me to what I had to do. It would be a lie. Human nature sealed my downfall. My name is Philip. If we are lucky, then by the time you receive this, I will be dead. If fate frowns, we all perish. Hello everybody, and welcome to a new series, Penumbra Overture. I will of course be continuing Amnesia Rebirth. For those of you that didn't get it, check the community tab. You'll find I made a post there discussing the new schedule. Now, first things first, I have already run about like the first hour of this game when I was testing something, so I'll let you guys know when I've gotten to the point where I don't remember anything. And also some context, I've played this game a few times before, but I never paid attention when I first played it, so my memory is shoddy at best. First things first, I want to do something about this very loud volume. Actually, it'll be quiet in-game, it's just a menu for the most part that's loud. Now, some things to cover beforehand. I think I'll cover it in-game though, where it's a little more quiet. But for now though, on the main menu here, as you can see, looks like who I presume to be the main character here, attending a funeral, obviously this being his mother's funeral. I don't believe there's anything else of note here, it's just some cool world building, a little cool scene of what I presume to be the main character. Now we have easy, normal or hard. For players who are bad at action games, recommended, suits most players, and for players wanting a real challenge. Easy, enemies find it harder to spot you, move slower and deal less damage. The most balanced mode to play in. Enemies can take more damage and are faster. You heard that right, you can actually fight back in this game, which I'm very much looking forward to taking part in. A little bit of combat. My story began in February year 2000. Actually, isn't he supposed to be speaking here?
For my part in this allegory, I'm not going to make the same mistakes my father made. Howard vanished from my mother's life before I was even in it, so when he sent me a letter a few days after Mum's funeral, it was the first I'd ever heard from him. Pity he was dead. Writing from beyond the grave must be a genetic habit in my bloodline. His letter contained a key, instructions, pleas for forgiveness. I figured the dead don't have much use for absolution, so I turned to his prophetic passing, which he inexplicably expected to come any day. Clearly averse to explanations, my father preferred to leave directions to a bank on Mayfair I'd never even heard of. In that bank was a safety deposit box in his name, and myself as executor. Of course, I went, as he knew I would. I discovered that despite the evidence, he'd been legally declared dead almost 30 years ago, and so the old book and collection of notes I found had, in the eyes of the law, been mine all this time. My father's instructions were to burn the documents, raise no further questions. But that was his error. No man's immune to the shameful trappings of curiosity, and my humanity got the better of me. The university I taught at was world renowned for two things: physics and linguistics. I represented the first, and the man who stood for the second was stumped by my recent acquisition. The book was indecipherable. The notes, however, showed a location somewhere in uninhabited northern Greenland. It took me almost a year to book the last flight I'd ever take. As I watched civilization disappear along with Heathrow, I realised my father had disappeared 3 decades ago, almost to the day, and I considered in turn what it was that I was leaving behind. We landed on a strip of ice a few feet wide, and within minutes I was pulling away on a chartered boat, beginning the 12-hour journey that would lead me into my past.
Already crazy interesting intro, a lot of information thrown at once. Is this another cutscene? Finally, we're almost docked. I'd better store my gear. I may be far from home, but chances are I can still pick up things using left mouse, and I can take a closer look at things using right mouse. Well, he's lying. Right mouse throws things. Anyways. So, before I interact with everything in this room... Whoa, the sensitivity. Before I interact with everything in this room, some things to cover. So his father went missing 3 decades ago. That means 1970 he went missing. It's 2000 now. And I want to mention, Philip has a very similar mannerism to Daniel, which is very interesting. Considering how many years it's been since that time era, 120 years. Yeah, Philip, he speaks very similarly to Daniel, which I find a very cool detail. I presume it's because he's kind of similar to Daniel in the fact that he's in a high-renowned job. And moving on from that, what else? Clearly the father found something catastrophic, and it has something to do with those files which Philip can't decipher. Obviously the best move would have been to just destroy them and move on with his life, but there are too many unanswered questions, not just about the mysterious thing that his father wants him to burn, the mysterious notes, but also just about why he left and etc, etc. There's just too much mystery in Philip's life to just simply ask him to suddenly destroy these notes. Oh, and our main character's a physicist, which is really cool, and explains the very high-class way he speaks. I quite like the dialogue in this game so far, I'm really enjoying it. And now, to move on to something I wanted to say at the menu, but the music was a bit loud. Penumbra actually means something, believe it or not. They're words that mean something. So is Overture. And games, obviously, in the title, want to convey the story in a shortened way to get you a vague idea of what it's about through the title. So let's see what the title means. Penumbra is actually a combination of 2 Latin words. The first one being a word I can't spell, so I'm just going to pause the game for a bit. Alright, you guys should be able to hear this, but this is how Google says you're supposed to say it.
Fine.
Did you hear that? If you didn't hear that, things are about to get embarrassing for me. But that first word, which I'm not even going to bother to try and pronounce, and then also a second word it's made out of, which is this part here, umbra. This means shadow. Peony, I know I said I wouldn't say it, but I have to say it now. Peony, the first part, means almost, or particularly, or nearly. So the title literally translates, Penumbra literally translates to nearly shadow or almost shadow. Now what's interesting about this is in the title here we can see what looks to be not a horizon line, but like when you look at a planet from above in space, you can see this rim around it. And I believe it is the edge of a solar eclipse that is usually called a penumbra. The penumbra of the solar eclipse. Because there's a point where I think it is the moon casts a shadow on the Earth? I don't think that's it. It garners more research. I'm not very knowledgeable on the subject. I'm not a genius like Philip. But I do know that penumbras are often caused by opaque objects casting a shadow. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the game. What I do know though is almost shadow might actually have something to do with the game. So let's keep an eye out for anything that could possibly represent a penumbra or the meaning of penumbra. Overture simply just means the beginning of something. And usually, I believe, it indicates the beginning of something huge or the beginning of something usually positive. So I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, Overture just means like the start of the Penumbra story. Penumbra is the main thing I want to focus on here, and what this could possibly indicate for the game's story. Moving on now, before I talk about anything else, I would quite like to investigate this room. So I actually like Penumbra more than Amnesia Dark Descent, not as a whole, but like more in the gameplay aspect. We can right-click things to examine them and get Philip's opinion on things. That is a chest from Amnesia. That is just straight up a chest from Amnesia. Amnesia ripped off resources from this game by the looks of things, but no surprise there. So anyways, you can right-click to examine things, move things, obviously. However, something this game does that's a little different from the Dark Descent. If you press R, boom. Look at this. Isn't this just the coolest thing you've seen since, I don't know, Kool-Aid? Oh, I love it. I love it. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that does not love this. That is incredibly fun. There's just so much control. It's really nice. Get out. So let's first start by seeing Philip's thoughts and everything, and then we'll collect some notes. Speaking of notes, I have my trusty notebook back here, and by trusty I mean misleading nightmare. Unfortunately, I'm a bit silly, and my notes don't really make much sense. Not poorly written, just poorly worded. Now then, let's start finally seeing Philip's thoughts on things. I'm certain this map's a good decade or so out of date, but landmarks don't change much in Greenland, so I've got a pretty decent idea of where I'm heading. Interesting. I told you to stop moving. I know we're on a boat, but dang. Pretty odorous. Glad I'm getting out of here soon. They must eat and sleep and, well, do everything else in this one room for weeks at a time. Pillow, which... oh, it's so cool. Tell me you don't like this and you're lying. This is one of the coolest things in any game. Brilliant, man. Brilliant, brilliant. I love it so much. Anyways. Playboy poster. It's nice to see some things don't change no matter how far you are from home. Facts. Don't got anything to say about the fish? It's a rickety wooden desk. I can get that drawer open if I just hold the interact button and drag with the mouse. What if I press R? Doesn't do anything, got it. Oh, oopsies. Basically just saying the flashlight switch can be turned on with F, which everyone knew. Horror Game 101. Here we have the titular coat. It's his trademark coat. You'll see in art of the game, Philip is wearing this. Don't know why Philip likes this. He's got a 1 on the hood for some reason. Looks really cool though, like the red coat. Very nice look. More whiskey. Empty. Perhaps I should leave the fisherman some privacy. Nonsense, Philip. Dearest Eric, just a quick note before you set sail and leave me once again. I've left you a little something to remember me by in the chest at the foot of your bed. I really don't know why you still only have one bed on board. Taking shifts because of it is no way to get your rest. But what does a fisherman's wife know of life at sea? I'll be praying every night for you to make the catch you need so you can come home to me safely. And soon? Please don't be gone for 5 weeks like last time. I know I might nag sometimes, but I do love you, you know. I've washed those overalls of yours, and I know you'll get them covered in assorted fish pots in no time, but I still feel better knowing they've had a wash. Before I forget, the Henriksons in the village have asked me to see if you'll be coming by any trout. But I said they were mostly out of season. If you do happen upon any, don't say anything. Store them well in the ice, and I'll do something special with them to celebrate when you come home to me. The ship's captain deserves us a little special treatment once in a while. Take care, my love. You know what my favourite part about this? Philip takes the letter. I would get it if it's like he just reads it and snoops and then puts it back. Unfortunately, as he said in the beginning, human curiosity, almost everybody does it. Not me, I'm not outing myself, I don't do things like that. But there's a lot of people that do it. And the thing is, if you just looked at it, that would be fine. The man takes it and puts it in his notebook. What was so special about that he wanted to keep it? And what about the fisherman? I'm sure he's already read it, but he's gonna know that you stole it. You're the last person in here, and it was the last time he saw the note. Why are you taking this stuff, man? From the smell, I'd say there's an equal chance they use this chest for personal belongings or bait. Always good to have a notebook to jot down interesting information and reminders. Now where's that emergency glow stick? Should still be in the locker. Keys in my inventory. I love it when video game characters speak as if, like, they know of the game rules. It's so weird. Leads out into the deck, but I don't fancy braving that weather until I have to. Philip appears to be British. I know he said Mayfair, so he went to London. He doesn't seem to originate from London, though. Unless he's just in a different part of London. London's usually where all the fancy folk are, so I'm assuming that that is indeed where he's from. It's one of the more richer areas, I believe. Good thing I have my torch at hand. This country seems to exist in a permanent state of twilight. Whoopsies. Some extra batteries to power my flashlight. That should be everything I need. I want to get going before it gets dark. Well, before we do, Philip, keep your pants on. I've got something else to say. I have no idea what I was going to say. Let's go, Philip. As I stepped off the boat, setting out into the blizzard that had formed around me, I realized how utterly devoted I'd been to the discovery of my father's past. I had no idea what to expect. Soon enough, my concerns were justified. I don't know whether I lost my orientation or my spirit first, but I lost feeling in my extremities soon after. A new hypothermia was setting in. I started looking for shelter. Is this necessary? Probably. It's important to Philip, but wow. So cold, don't know where I am, need shelter soon. Lost in the blizzard, maybe my last entry if I don't find shelter? My entire head went numb a long time ago, but I can still hear the wind roaring past. Or is that some kind of animal in the distance? I should just about manage to pick up that rock. The cold's made me weak, but I can still throw things using the examine button when I'm carrying something. If I use interact mode, I can swing the stone more accurately. Heck yeah, you can. There's actual danger. I hope to God it's not frozen inside as well. It's so weak, but if I just use interact mode, I should be able to turn the wheel. Oh gosh. Perfect. You can actually die if you stay out in the cold. I almost died last time I played. Also, he said animals in the distance, but I don't know how many animals could exist in that kind of weather. And in this area too, I'm not sure what animals are local. Sounded like a dog howl, or sorry, a wolf howl. There wouldn't be a dog out here, I wouldn't imagine. Whispering, that's weird, that's not usual. And now, Jesus, my head, I can't believe I fell that far and survived. Although, looking around, maybe I didn't. What is this place? Philip has some funny lines sometimes. I like the guy, he's amusing. A heavy-looking wooden barrel, could be anything inside it. Empty boxes of ammunition. What is this place? It appears to be a bunker, my friend. Which is fascinating because Amnesia the Bunker is coming out soon. More popular YouTubers have already started documenting their experience playing the game. I haven't watched any though, I want to play it blind with you guys when it comes out. More flares, love to see it. It's a flare, could be handy as a light source. And speaking of Amnesia the Bunker, I very much look forward to... It's stuck, there must be something in the way. I very much look forward to seeing how much Frictional Games has improved. Part of why I'm playing Penumbra, Overture, and the other Penumbra games is to see, you know, what they were like at the beginning. I don't know if this is their first horror game, but I know it's one of their first. A real classic. And more than anything, I can't wait to see how they've improved over the years. And based on what I've seen, you can fight back somewhat in the bunker, which is fascinating. Because in Penumbra you can fight back. I'm wondering if they're returning to their old roots in some way. Alongside that, I'm always excited for an Amnesia release. Amnesia's been a big part of my life for a long time now. A basic wooden door. I'm sure Philip has just realised he's found himself within a horror game, or horror movie. Horror games weren't really popular in the 2000s. It's a 24-hour ration pack, long past its sell-by date. A metal shelf. The wooden shelf slowly falling apart. The hammer's seen some action in its time. Let's see, if I can swing this hammer if I hold left mouse, I can make a backswing by pulling the mouse right, and let's follow through by pushing left. The opposite works too. Pulling back and then thrusting forward produces a stabbing motion. I reckon if I hold down right mouse after the backswing, I should still be able to look around. These shells are as old as everything else around here. Could be over 50 years since anyone's been down here. Penumbra takes place way after... I mean, I'm not saying that it takes place in the same universe as the Amnesia series, but Penumbra takes place, like, way in the future compared to any of the Amnesia games. Which is really nice to see. I'm used to much more older aesthetics. Saying that though, like, we're in a 50-year-old bunker, so I guess Frictional Games can't stray too far from what they like. The inventory system is much more advanced, for lack of a better word, than in Amnesia, especially A Machine for Pigs, which didn't even have an inventory. We have ourselves a hammer now. The hole's been boarded up a long time ago. The wood looks pretty soft now. This is freaking cool, man. Undeniably awesome. I like the way this works. It's a bit clunky and old, but no problem with that, man. It feels great still, even after all these years. I think I done found myself where I'm supposed to go. I'm not fancying those sounds. It's either shuffling through the tunnels or a collapse. Both are not enticing. This hatch is seriously solid. It won't open by hand. Someone obviously wanted to keep people out or in. Let's get rid of this darn thing. I can't move anything. That kind of sounds like Daniel, that breathing. No wonder I couldn't open the door. Yeah, I don't fancy meeting whatever's down there. I quite imagine that people intended to keep that thing in rather than out. I should have known that rusty old ladder wouldn't hold my weight. But I didn't have any choice. I'd rather die down here than suffer that cold any longer. Buddy, you have no idea what you're in for down here. I think you'll reconsider soon. That horrible blinding light is kind of similar to the Amnesia blinding light, which was much better and made me feel safe. That one makes me want to throw up. Whatever I was descending into, it was 100 feet below ground, protected by two solid metal hatches, located in a remote Arctic wilderness, and buried beneath the snow. I didn't know what to expect, but it made me feel something I hadn't felt since I was a child. I'd never given it much thought before, but I realized that our entire society is a network of safety nets. Emergency services at the end of a phone line, health and safety in the workplace, friends, family, lovers, all there. If something goes wrong, part of a carefully designed structure to prevent all but the most mundane of emotions. Once again, I felt like I did when I was in school, surrounded by a closing ring of older kids, knowing anyone that might help me, friends, parents, teachers, were too scared or too far away. Fascinating, wonderful stuff. Really love this little monologue by Philip here, and he's exactly right. It's a great deduction, one that I haven't put much thought into myself. I've jotted down a note just in case. The entrance to the cave is caved in. There must be another way out. What was that? There could be anything living down here. Heroics are for the Hollywood actors, and fairy tales. I'm not taking any chances. If I face off anything against down here, I won't last a second. Caution and stealth are my only defenses now. As Philip said, I hadn't originally intended to fight everything I met, but I'm on hard mode. I could die in one hit for all I know. Now, I'm not doing no death runs anymore because it doesn't really mesh well with the style of my channel, but I do still not want to die. If anyone or anything hears me, I'd best be off staying low and out of sight until I know whether or not it's a threat. Crouching by pressing left control will give me the chance to hide in the shadows. I'll know I've got it right because of the blue tint to my vision. Plus, I should be quiet enough that I won't be heard unless something's right on top of me. Better remember to shut off any light sources though. Yes, let's use utmost caution here. My best bet is to hide for a couple of seconds or so, perfectly still. That'll make me properly hidden. There are no closets in this game or anything of the sort, but there are... oh, like that I'm virtually invisible, and after some time I should get my night vision back, provided I stay still. You have weird abilities, Philip. But yes, when you stand still for a while, it has like Amnesia Rebirth rules, where if you hold crouch for an extended period of time, you hide perfectly still and a monster probably won't bother you. Now you do have a weapon and you can attack, but it's an absolute last resort. I don't want to die from anything too vicious down here, you know? Oh, I should have read the map. Well, I remember well enough where to go. Oh, dear me, I thought that barrel was an enemy and my whole body just froze. Which is a bad sign. I should be ready and raring to go for action and movement if things go bad. As usual, Frictional Games are great. They're masters of build-up, suspense, you know, the whole lot. So much history in this place, tied up and left to decompose. Yeah, that's the way of the human race. And nature and life in general. Oh, I've only been recording 28 minutes. I'm actually glad about that. The longer I get to record, the better. I'm having a good time with this, man. Really enjoyable game so far. Excellent atmosphere, interesting story, and a likable main character. And really long notes, because I love reading really long notes. 15th of August. It's always near August. Always near the 19th of August. 15th of August, 1945. Command Bunker Emergency Airstrip Zulu Weekly Report. Another unremarkable week in Greenland. Regular supply shipment received, standard emergency drills carried out, and routine runway maintenance completed. I've ordered maintenance to be carried out twice weekly from here on in due to increased snowfall. 1 wounded. The 1 wounded figure is no cause for concern back in London. The Germans haven't extended their front line by 4,000 miles. 2 of my men were caught manufacturing cherry bombs in our workshop/armory and succeeded in blowing off a couple of fingers. I take partial responsibility for this, in that I allowed them access to the demolitions. Manual we keep in the storeroom, and I'm sure that's where they learnt the ingredients. As a precautionary measure, I have now locked up that manual in the chest in my office, and I will keep the key on my person at all times. Needless to say, both men have been disciplined and the injured man has been sent home for medical care. I cannot help but think that the most suitable punishment would have been for him to stay out here, but the matter is out of my hands. The base is so disconnected sometimes, I feel as if this war could end, and we might not even hear about it out here. Supplies requisition order. Dynamite for excavation purposes, 7 bayonets not necessary in my opinion, but procedure states we should have a full complement. 1 industrial ice pick for removing that darn ice that forms around on the external hatch. 1 pair of reading glasses, category 7C in order for myself. My glasses are in a rather poor state of repair and could do with replacing. Reconditioning of the mine continues to progress. The structure is being fortified from potential bomb damage, and excavation of previously caved-in areas is going ahead. 1 point of curiosity is some kind of archaeological find, an artifact buried in the earth, and discovered by one of the work teams later this evening. After martial duty, I shall take a closer look at the artifact. It appears to be man-made and may have working parts inside. I shall remove what looks to be the front cover and see if I can discover the source of light which constantly emanates from it. Chief NCO M. Major. Very interesting note, some world building once again. Taken way ages ago. Even long before Howard. Howard presumably came here 1970. This is 1945. Things seemed to be okay. They had a working workforce down here, researching something. They found this mysterious little gizmo over here. And of course we learned of some idiots that blew themselves up, but that gives us a hint for bombs, which will come in handy for sure. You keep opening the same drawer and I'll get mad. Oh, the music's kicking in. This must be a pretty intense note. Copenhagen Post, Monday 17th of August, 1930, 15 years before. The previous note even. Psychotropic deposits of the bottom of Death Mine, in quotations with a question mark. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen have suggested that mind-altering chemicals naturally sown into the rock may be the cause of high suicide rates at a Greenland mine. The university, which has recently been conducting studies into isolated communities, first became interested in the workers of the Northwestern lead mine last year. They discovered that even taking into account Greenland's naturally higher suicide rate, local figures for the last 100 years were abnormally high, at 46 deaths per 100,000 populace, compared to the national average of 29. On further investigation, experts diagnosed in many of the mines symptoms in common with the earlier stages of paranoid schizophrenia. This has prompted researchers to hypothesize that natural deposits of lysergic acid, a pH-4 formula recently discovered to have hallucinogenic properties, may be present in the rocks. Few locals were conducive to interview. Conducive? Not sure what that word means. Perhaps it's a typo. Maybe it does mean conductive. Conducive? Conducive? Perhaps that is a word and I'm just dumb. Few locals were conducive to the interview, but those who agreed to speak had their own explanation. Invit spirits known as the Turngate live in the mountains. The university is awaiting the results of chemical testing. Studies continue. Fascinating, really like this note. Okay, we have a possible monster, Turngate. Let's see here. It could go either way, honestly, it really could. With Frictional Games, it could very easily be monsters, actual supernatural creatures. Or perhaps these rocks are really infused with lysergic acid. Regardless, it's bad news, and Philip is in danger. He shouldn't have come here, but I'm sure he knows this by now. The text on these pages is illegible. Years of damp and cold have dissolved its meaning forever. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's a picture of a British platoon. It must date back to World War II. I suppose this mine was converted into some kind of bunker. Before I touch this horrible thing, let's see here. My theory for what all of this is. The creatures, the noises and everything we hear could potentially be simply just Philip's hallucinations. For all we know, perhaps these walls here really are infused with lysergic acid. But let's say it's not a hallucinogen and it is the turn gate. Well, we'll need a lot more evidence for that. Although I guess this gizmo here could be our evidence. It's an old artifact. A man, an old man, clutching something unseen. He is strange, and yet he is no stranger. Never seen before? Still I know. This man before me is Howard. I call him father. Ugh. What the hell? What just happened? I don't know if that was such a good idea. Philip, this whole thing hasn't been a good idea. I may never get used to that. This reminds me of the memory capsules from the Amnesia series. Present in both The Dark Descent and Rebirth. Don't remember them in A Machine for Pigs. Now what the memory capsules did is they stored actual memories from the brain into cylindrical containers, which upon touching, the user would be filled with these memories and witness them as if they were their own. Is that what we have here? Are these memory capsules? Perhaps Philip is seeing the memories of another person, but that is impossible. I mean, the previous note we had collected stated that the individual that found this found it in 1945. Howard certainly was alive then, perhaps, maybe, who knows. He could have been alive then, he could have been born then, who knows, but I very much doubt he was an old man. I don't believe this is to do with memories. Perhaps hallucinogens, perhaps... This garners more investigation, that's for sure. This typewriter dates back even further than the war, made in Germany 1923. I've noticed a lot of reused sound effects in Amnesia. Amnesia seemed to have taken a lot from Penumbra. An age-old filing cabinet. Lots of beef jerky, that's sure to come in handy. Painkillers, got it. Now, despite the fact that this is a no-death run, I have no intention of letting Philip die. Rotting wooden shells must be added moisture from that grate. This whole room is putrefying. I have no intention of letting Philip die, so I won't be goofing off or attempting fate, although I had originally considered doing such a thing. I still want to take this seriously. I don't want Philip's blood on my hands, at least not intentionally. Locked. I may need a key. Light. I miss being outside already. This place is starting to get to me, but even if I could reach that grate, it looks built into the rock itself. No way it's coming loose. True that, man. True that. Stupid. I can't believe I was trying to open the darn thing. What is up with me sometimes, man? Big Book of Explosives. Goody. 1923 edition. Oh! Oh! This Big Book of Explosives must have been written here. 1923, that's the date the typewriter is. That wasn't just a world-building comment. I'm pretty sure that was to indicate that this book was written using that typewriter. Chapter 1.3 Black Match Fuse. The Black Match Fuse is one of the oldest, simplest, and most reliable fuses used in modern pyrotechnics. It is easy to create, essentially consisting of just string and gunpowder, but be warned, the chemicals concerned will stain clothing, and as always, due concern is advised. Materials required: string, preferably cotton, black gunpowder, backstring. The string should be coated with a thin layer of backstring which acts as an adhesive. The string is then carefully rolled in the gunpowder and then left to dry at least a couple of minutes before use. Chapter 2.1 Dynamite. Invented by Alfred Noble in 1866. Dynamite is commonly used in construction, mining, and demolition. It is proved far safer to handle than alternatives such as pure nitroglycerin, provided, that is, it has been properly stored over time. The explosive component of dynamite supposedly... The explosive component of dynamite supposedly made safe by the presence of diatomaceous earth has a tendency to weep, making an old box of the explosive liable to detonate on contact. Materials required: 1 part diatomaceous earth, 3 parts nitroglycerin, small amount of sodium carbonate, text unreadable and then simply formed into short sticks and wrapped in paper. Trinitrotoluene TNT. TNT was first discovered in 1863 by German chemist Joseph Wildebrand. But it took some years before it yielded its true potential. This was because of the difficulty of making it explode and the lesser detonation in comparison to dynamite. The main advantage was discovered by the German Navy, who employed TNT. Do you see an L? Do you see an L anywhere? Open your eyes. Who employed TNT's relative explosive stability in order to cause massive damage to British warships. Their torpedoes could be detonated inside a ship's armor rather than exploding on contact, as did the other shells. Chapter 2.6 Armstrong's Mixture. Armstrong's Mixture is included in this book as more of a point of interest than as a viable chemical mix. The formula exists as a somewhat of a legend in modern pyrotechnics, referenced by those knowledgeable enough to stay away from it as Death Mix. It is incredibly volatile. Makes it unsuitable for almost all potential applications. Oh, its incredible volatility makes it unsuitable for almost all potential applications. Materials required: red phosphorus, barium. This mixture can be carefully and slowly mixed to minimize risks to the chemist. Sulfur can substitute for some or all of the barium to slightly decrease sensitivity. Fascinating read. Guess that's all I have for this area. Should be able to move on now. Should have 4 notes so far. I'll make sure I do. That door scared me so much. What am I doing? I'm supposed to be checking how many notes I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is precisely how many I should have. You are a problem! Oh god, is there something else down here too? I can't just wait here for whatever's around that corner. I need to hide. Fido, back off. Jesus, I've never been this scared in my life. I can feel my heart racing. If anything gets within more of a few feet of my hiding spot, I'd better not stare it out. Anything within my field of vision might panic me, and then I'm a goner. And we certainly don't want that, do we, Philip? Let's get moving quick. I don't know this dog's trajectory, so I'm going to be making a quick movement over to my next hiding spot. Immediately hiding in this corner. The music has gone down, but that does not mean it's gone. The enemies do not leave in this game. It's simply just making its rounds, and it'd be in my best interest not to bump into it when I head out to survey the area. Dear me, okay. I'll wait till the music passes once more and then make my escape. Sounds as if it's right next to me, to be honest. For all I know, it is. All that's protecting Philip is this strange crate, or collection of crates. Music in this game is sublime, by the way, as usual with Frictional Games music. I really need to pay attention to who composes these tracks because every game has had a great soundtrack so far. The only thing ruining my mood right now is how long that music lasted for. I have no way of telling of the dog's location. Locked, of course it is. Mayhaps it is behind me, mayhaps it is in front of me. I've no way of knowing. I simply have to make my escape immediately. Oh boy, do I wish there was chase music. Crikey, Mick! I didn't expect to yell that loud. I was like really scared there. I don't think this game has chase music, which means I don't know when I'm actually being chased or not. Also, I was gonna say crikey Mickey. I'm presuming Mickey Mouse, I don't really know any other Mickeys. Not sure why I'm calling his name. Actually sweating, I just wiped sweat from my forehead. I don't know if it's this impossible summer heat, or the fact that I just almost killed Philip. Just old paint cans dried up long ago. Lots of paper boxes with rusty nails. Let's see here, how long have I been recording? 47 minutes. Aye, let's continue. I see no reason not to. Reams of wiring. Another locked door, and Philip wrote a note, I may as well see it. I found a locked door in the middle of the mine. Good job, Philip. Certainly did. Well, first, I shouldn't move on. Let's see what's behind this door. If this light wasn't empty, it'd be a handy thing to have. Locked from the other side. Does that mean there's someone still inside? I can hear chattering. Thank goodness, maybe I can... Oh dear, I forgot to read that. I've jotted down a note just in case. I think Philip said maybe I can find a way in there. There's a locked door with odd noises coming from behind it in this storage. Undoubtedly, I just heard a who is there. I'm hearing lots of like... I don't know, slurping noises? Heavy breathing, slight choking sounds. So whatever's going on behind there is not good. No matter what's going on there, I don't want to walk in on it. Perhaps it would have been nice of Philip to call back out when he asked who was there, but it was very whispered and hard to hear, so perhaps Philip just didn't hear it. Whoever it is... Oh yes, I should show you guys something. Here we have... lighter plus fuel equals something I can't see. I think that is... Well, there's a smiley face on the right and what looks to be a massive fire next to it, something of that sort. It's a crude representation of a scorched, writhing spider. Seriously, Philip? Oh shoot, he's right, yeah, it's a spider on its back with a massive flames coming from it. And here we have what looks to be a massive spiders and a sad face. These drawings seem to basically represent don't like spiders, burn the spiders. The work of either a child or a deranged mind. Judging by these sounds, I'm willing to bet deranged mind. Already, this is very interesting. Right after we escape from the dog, we get a great deal of intrigue with what appears to be either a new friend or foe, which I'm excited to find out. Given these conditions, whoever may have once been friend is now certainly foe, given the madness they must have succumbed to. And one of these things I don't really want to partake in touching. I don't think it's good for Philip, but gotta do it anyways to figure out what they are. It was different, but the same. That time, like I had more control. But over what? Why does it sound like the souls from hell are talking about freshness? I swear I hear that voice saying, something something fresh, something something. Something I like is Frictional Games have already introduced the idea of either hallucinogenics or a supernatural entity. So these whisperings could easily be explained away via the potential of hallucinogenics. However, they could also very well just be actual supernatural activity. It looks as if this basement caved in some years ago. Something's tunneled through here more recently though. What sort of creature makes these markings? That's a great question, Philip. Was that a spider? I don't like spiders. Me neither, man. Ugh, spiders in small places. I don't know if I can go through with this. I think I can hear the pitter-patter of tiny feet. Can you even call spider legs feet, like at the end? I'm sure they call it something else, right? Well, he's a scientist here, not me. No, then again, he's a physicist. Not his field. So I'm gonna do this ahead of time, but when you're leaving this place, you need to drag this ladder all the way over to the little spot over here. I'm just gonna get it over with. What, you guys want to see something cool and fun? You can actually ride the wave. If you hold R, and then do this, and then press R again, and just start jumping, you can actually fly on this downfit. Oh, there's my fun. There it is. It's gone now. Game ruined it. Yeah, you can treat it like Aladdin, the flying carpet, the magic carpet. Just down this way is something menacing, so I'm going down this way. This was an immediate mistake. A horrible sight. Luckily it's mummified, or else the smell would have been horrible. Did you just take a big whiff? It doesn't mean you can smell it all day, my dude. Day 1. I begin this record still in the hope that the great work we have undertaken here might one day be of scientific value. Despite the chaos which has ensued in the 6 hours previous, my aim is to remain secure until what help there may be arrives. And to that end, I have barricaded myself into a small workshop area in the abandoned part of the mine. I hope that the meager food rations here will keep me alive and that those I hide from will not jeopardize that. Perhaps this mine really is cursed. It's almost precisely 30 years since the incident that brought us here, and now 30 years on, fate has struck again. Super interesting things to note right off the bat. First of all, this note appears to be recent, like in this time frame of Philip getting his father's note. The reason I say this is because these notes are presumably left by the guy breathing up there. Now, he didn't have much food, and yet he is still alive. Regardless of what he was eating, he can't have lived for 30 years plus. So this isn't 30 years ago when Howard was here, but it's somewhere either in the middle or close to Philip getting the letter, or maybe even the day Philip got the letter, and if so, I have some things to say about that. Day 3, I forecasted that today the rescue crews would arrive. but I can only hypothesize that they would be unaware of my location, and hence busy themselves evacuating the other survivors. If they have not arrived by tomorrow, I will go out in search of them. What is he hiding from in the first place? Perhaps I have just missed something? And what happened? What disaster happened? Day 6. My first mistake was to make assumptions on the matter of rescue. My second mistake was to make assumptions on the safety of this mine. My third mistake was to act on both of those assumptions and going outside of my safe haven. My best estimate is that I left the workshop where I was secured about 2 days ago in search of aid, and I have found only danger. I approached the old living quarters, but curiously could find no sign of life whatsoever. I returned in what I thought was the direction from which I had come, but soon found myself in an unfamiliar locale. Confused but focused, I attempted to make my way home, but I found myself threatened by some species of feral creature, which seems to have made this old mine its home. Although the specimen bore significant interest to me, I chose to retreat, only to find myself outmaneuvered and outnumbered by the beasts. I turned and ran, injuring my ankle in the process, which I now believe is most likely a sprain, rather than a fracture. For some time I cowered and fled into the dark, but a few hours ago I discovered a door leading to a smaller, disused part of the mine, the key for which I still have in my pocket. Within that area I discovered this storeroom, and I think it should keep me safe for some time. This place is a maze. My lesson learned, I will not venture out again until I am certain the area is safe. Day 19. Rescue seems increasingly unrealistic. Supplies diminishing. Why can I say that? Diminishing? Lots of spiders in this place. I do not like spiders. Fascinating. Dusty old bags. I could very well die here, guys. That thing has killed me once before. I'm gonna jump through it like this, but with the timing of a legend. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Woo, bum! Damaged I was, but I should be okay. He said something about the steam could blister flesh from bone in an instant. Yeah, about that. If it weren't for the size of the pieces, I would say it looks like eggshells. Well, my friend, they are eggshells, I'm afraid to say. Day 71. My earlier assumptions on the benign nature of my cellmates may have been made in error. After a careful autopsy, I am concerned that there may be a small volume of natural chemicals stored in the stomach, which if ingested regularly over what the heck? I feel like we're missing something here. Oh shoot, we are. Sorry, my bad. Hold on. Day 34. I caught one of the accused 8-legged beasts nestling in my open mouth when I woke up this morning. In my surprise, I swallowed it. It's not so much of the act of swallowing which concerns me, but the genus of arachnid. It would be unlikely that a cave-dwelling spider would be venomous to any significant degree, but the possibility troubles me all the same. I mean, if you died from eating it, wouldn't it technically be poisonous, not venomous? Any known venom would have been affected me by now, and so today is the first minor cause of celebration I have had since the incident. By lucky coincidence, this revelation also means I have discovered a virtually inexhaustible supply of nutrition. I intend to venture into the basement beneath this storeroom in the name of science. Yeah, for research, right? To discover more about these creatures' natural habitat. Day 50. For 4 days now I have been surviving solely off the quite considerable sustenance provided by the spiders. For some time I was struggling to gather enough of the crunchy little morsels. However, Lady Luck smiled on me once more when the batteries in my torch died, and I made a second life-saving finding. The creature's natural habitat is the dark. With my light now diminished, I need only lie still for a few minutes, and I'll have attracted enough of the beasts for a rather hearty meal. A real page-turner this one is. Day 71. My earlier assumptions of the benign nature of my cellmates may have been made in error. After a careful autopsy, I am concerned that there may be a small volume of natural chemicals stored in its stomach, which if ingested regularly over a period of time, may become psychotropic, or even lethal. My only real chance is to break out of here and raid any stashes of supplies I can find. However, the evidence against such a move is insurmountable. 1. I have no source of light. 2. I swore to myself I wouldn't leave until I heard human voices outside. 3. The spiders are so tasty. That third reason is a real humdinger. Day 100. From the marks I've been making on the walls and my scribbled diary entries, which in the dark may amount to an illegible scroll, today is the 100th day of my new life. Over the past month, my edible friends have become more and more aggressive, and have swelled in number and size. Whether or not this is the result of my plundering of their ecosystem, I am unsure. However, at this rate of growth, they will soon be too large to crawl through the gaps in the walls. For all I know, I could be only seeing the tip of the iceberg. If all fails, and I am never recovered, I hope at least that my study of, and indeed involvement with these fascinating creatures, will one day be regarded as an important point in natural history. The greatest names in modern science got there more through fluke than talent, and it appears that this rule has extended itself to the discovery of this delicious new species. I only pray that the second rule deems my breakthrough too insignificant, for all discoveries tend to consume their inventor. Always scares me going through the steam. Right, or some things right off the bat. The crazy man's notes. Interesting that the innards of these spiders contain small traces of... Finally, this must be all that's left of basement storage. That lock looks rather worse for wear. Of all of the, Oh goodness, what was I saying? Alright, yeah, it's interesting that the spider's stomachs contain small amounts of what looks to be potentially psychotropic effects. Now, the reason this is interesting, of course, is because these spiders live and breathe in the walls. This potentially puts evidence towards the idea that these walls may not be anything to do with supernatural or anything like the Turngate, but these walls may actually just be filled with lysergic acid, and these spiders may have adapted to it in some way and melded with it. And that's what this man is suffering from. Eating so many of these so-called delicious spiders has integrated the poison into his system and is mentally affecting him. I very much doubt the spiders are delicious, but whatever he is suffering from must be making him think they are delicious, and also affecting his ability to think rationally. Now, perhaps these spiders and dogs aren't even real, but that's even more of a stretch, to be honest. Oh, this turns off the steam, by the way. Now, I am willing to believe it's supernatural in nature, but I am also willing to believe that this is just simply a hallucinogenic cave system. I'm not going to exclude any options here. As for which one is more likely, I really don't know. I suppose I'm willing to put money on the idea of a hallucinogen. But the dogs, they seem so real, as do the spiders, and they're very clearly out of the ordinary. Perhaps we have a mixture of both. There aren't supernatural creatures. I know that may make you think of supernatural creatures, but I stand by what I said. I don't believe this may be supernatural creatures or simple lysergic acid. I think this may be some kind of unknown chemical that humanity has not charted. I think someone's been dragged through here. I've never seen this much blood before. That was my best chance to get some answers. Who else is still down here? It's a great question, Philip. Perhaps nobody, who knows? Anyways, as I was saying, perhaps this is not a documented chemical, and this chemical is affecting the animals in a way that amplifies but deteriorates them. And maybe it's doing something similar for the humans. That's my theory for right now, is a mixture of both. Uncharted chemical and not really supernatural, but you can mistake it for supernatural. Years and years of reports, logs, and files just left here to gather dust. There's probably a century of life and death right here at my feet. I love how thoughtful, or maybe not thoughtful, but like how much he thinks about things. Philip is great so far, I really like him. Key's old and scratched, but looks to be in one piece. Day 200. Spider Haters No. Oh, that's his name, I love it. It has been some time since I recorded any findings in my relation to the spiders with whom I have shared my existence for the past 8 months, partly due to my enforced retreat from their basement territory not too long ago. Their behaviour became overtly aggressive, and so I have attempted to barricade the main entrance to their lair and secured myself within one of the smaller rooms above it. The only one with an operational door lock. The other reason is that I have been recovering from a minor operation, which I was forced to conduct myself. Without the aid of anesthetic, even if I did have any anesthetic or surgical tools, I couldn't afford to be less than diligent in my work. So anesthetic was out, surgical tools are all well and good, but although it may have been becoming old and rusty, I still trust my penknife to do the job just as well. The procedure itself was elementary enough, a simple amputation of a non-vital organ. I began to notice a thick glue-like substance forming on my tongue and was forced to accept that it had become infected through constant toxin ingestion. Day 300. Another century of days comes and goes. It seems like so long since I escaped here. At some stage since my last entry, I attempted to return from whence I came. That from which I originally was fleeing seems a fate far worse than the one I now face. However, in the time since I have arrived from the larger mind system, a cave-in has occurred. Blocking any further progress, I was forced to return and accept whatever end life has in store for me. I still hear my aggressive little friend scratching on the door to my cell. Rough, man. Rough. Well, at least this one's a little more positive, although I'd like to question its motive. This is so interesting. I love this kind of world building, this kind of lore. A mini horror story and a horror story itself. Absolutely love it. More games need to do this. It makes me so happy. Now behind this door we see some horrors. His amputated tongue. And he cut deep. That's what really gets me about this. I'm sure he had to cut deep, but how did he manage it? It is as impressive as it is horrifying. And yes, his tongue looks gangrenous. How repulsive. How he was able to speak or anything. See, that's part of what gets me, and part of what makes me think this is all a hallucination. Philip might be hallucinating Spider Hater. He might be hallucinating this tongue. Might be hallucinating this spider. Because how could this man live after cutting his tongue? How can he live off of spiders? Sure, they're quite big, but still. And most importantly, how could he live without water? Now here we have him cutting his tongue off with a pen. And living. He should have choked on his own blood. Which we did hear choking sounds, but he lived a long while by the sounds of it. The largest spider I've ever seen, with its gut carved open. Overall, very impressive stuff here. I hate the sounds, man. More beef jerky to distract the dogs, I would presume. This hole isn't large enough for a man. Not that I'd go anywhere near it, even if it was. What burrowed out this tunnel? That's a great question, Philip. One I do not want answered. Let's just get out. However, I'm ending the video here, guys. And this, funnily enough, is where I ended the test, so everything after this is well and truly blind. Now then, fascinating game so far, love everything about it. Need more time to get some cohesive thoughts about everything, but so far you have my word that I love this, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. So as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for next time. Bye for now.